Cutler Ridge where a toddler is possibly run over in his driveway.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Gould in for Matthew Rodriguez.
I'm Steve.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Gould in for Matthew Rodriguez.
I'm Steve Wolford. CBS 4 News at 5, right here, right now.
Now, live. This is CBS 4 News First at 5.
Tonight, we know more about the medical condition star Miami Heat player Alonzo Mourning is facing. The rare kidney disease is so debilitating, doctors say they cannot rule out the possibility of a transplant.
Zoe's future with the Heat is uncertain. Right now, he is sidelined indefinitely. Tonight, the Heat star is talking about his condition for the first time. We brought you the exclusive details first on 4 at noon. For the latest, let's go to CBS 4 Sports Director Jim Berry joining us live from the American Airlines Arena. Jim?
Okay, Steve, thank you very much. Well, Alonzo Mourning tonight is waiting for answers about how best to deal with his condition, but the good news for Zoe tonight is that at least he knows what it is. According to our sources, Mourning suffers from a very rare kidney disorder that afflicts only 1 in 10,000 people. That's the bad news. The good news, he is very upbeat and optimistic and hopes that he will return to the court.
Hardaway for Zoe. Look out below.
It apparently cropped up within the past year, and lately Mourning has felt some of its symptoms, which include fatigue.
He came by this morning and visited with us, and I had a nice conversation with him in my office.
The Heat remains tight-lipped about Mourning's condition, but his coach says his all-star center is very upbeat.
I'm going to tell you, don't be having a long face around him. He'll kick your ass. All that stuff. He's just about, attacking this and finding a plan.
In the short term, Mourning hopes that plan, according to sources, is to treat his illness with medication and resume playing this season. But over the long haul, Mourning may require a kidney transplant. Last year, San Antonio Spur Sean Elliott was diagnosed with a similar kidney disorder and got a transplant from his brother. Elliott has returned to the NBA, a fact which has encouraged Mourning. Meantime, Zoe's Heat teammates were given a lift simply by his visit to today's practice.
I was glad to see him, I've been to war with him for 5 years, so I'm glad I got to see him and talk to him in person, and just still wishing the best of luck and a speedy recovery.
It did pep us up. We know that he's on the mend, everything is going well. Whatever the problem is, they're getting the cure for it, and hopefully he'll be out soon.
Clearly, Alonzo Mourning wants to return and play basketball for the Heat this season, but he's not sure if that is medically the sound thing to do. He is still awaiting the result of some other tests, and apparently he will speak at some point later this week or early next week to address the media about the full details of his condition and what he intends to do in terms of a course of treatment. Live at the American Airlines Arena, I'm Jim Berry, CBS 4 Sports.
Coming up at 6, CBS 4 Health Specialist Dr. Deanna Lights will have an in-depth look at Alonzo Mourning's medical condition, so stay with CBS 4 for continuing coverage on the story.
We are following a breaking story right now in Cutler Ridge.
Chopper 4 is over the scene where a toddler has reportedly been run over in a driveway. CBS 4's Elliot Rodriguez is live in the newsroom with more on what happened there. Elliot?
Yeah, Steve, this is a live picture from Chopper 4. As you can see, police officers are outside that driveway of the home in Cutler Ridge. The address is 10250 Bahama Drive, and this is where police say that a 1.5-year-old child was hit by a car in the driveway of that house. Now, the child has been airlifted to Miami Children's Hospital. We have a crew on the way right now. We do not have a condition on the child, but we are hearing from police that the accident happened in the driveway of that house there, and the 1.5-year-old victim has been airlifted to the hospital. We'll keep you posted on any new developments. In the newsroom, Elliot Rodriguez, CBS 4 News.
A group of fake doctors is busted in Miami. This is police video taken from one of the offices where investigators say unlicensed doctors were performing surgical procedures. 2 offices were busted, one at 5524 Southwest 8th Street, the other at 1918 Southwest 57th Avenue. 5 people in all have been arrested. CBS 4's Evan Bacon is live right now in Coral Gables with more. Evan.
Jen, you shell out $1,600 to get rid of those love handles. You come to a place like this, you expect it to be done in a clean, safe environment by qualified doctors, but police say the serious procedure is done in this place with the sign there with the backward N on body regeneration. The procedure is done here not by doctors, but by a nutritionist and a makeup technician. Coral Gables police raid a cosmetology clinic and discover a medical house of horrors. Illegal prescription drugs, bags of human tissue in a freezer alongside packaged food, and roach-infested receptacles.
The hypodermic syringes, needles, any drugs that you'll see are illegal because it's not a licensed facility. They don't have a license to dispense drugs.
Police say Dr. Rene DeLamar would take patients in at his practice. Then office manager Victor Castro would schedule liposuctions, tummy tucks, and eye and lip jobs at a satellite office a few blocks away. That's where Myra Vasquez and Alfred Vasquez would reportedly perform the procedures. Both Vasquezes were arrested 2 years ago for performing medical procedures without a license. State investigators are outraged that these two people could possibly be busted, serve no jail time, and allegedly be back performing surgeries in no time.
The laws on the books weren't nearly as strict as they are now. We didn't have a mandatory minimum year-in-jail sentence for those unlicensed practitioners in any of the healthcare professions. We have that now.
And along with that, the state has opened an unlicensed activities office. That means that they can better monitor these types of activities. It will hope that will deter people from practicing these sensitive procedures without a license, but many more will continue because it is a lucrative scam. If you believe you may be visiting a doctor who is not qualified, does not have a license, call to report unlicensed doctors at 888-425-8852. We're live in Miami. Evan Bacon, CBS 4 News.
It's only a few degrees cooler across South Florida tonight, but people are still enjoying the dip in temperatures. The cool front has residents trading in tank tops for long-sleeve shirts and light jackets. The surf is also rough because of the high winds. CBS 4 meteorologist Craig Setzer is joining us now live on Weather Control with more. Craig.
That's right. It's one of those hard-to-dress-to kind of days. A little cooler this morning, but then it warmed up this afternoon. A lot of folks saying, hey, it's almost hot again outside. Not quite, but it never got really that cool last night, thanks to the northeast winds helping to keep the air all stirred up and also the clouds across South Florida holding the heat in. As you can see, most lows only in the low 70s, though, a nice break from the heat. For tonight, what we're looking for are the north to northeasterly winds to continue. That will cool the peninsula off with readings in the 70s over the south part of the state, 60s through the middle section, 50s up north, and 40s once again over the panhandle in the north portions of Florida. We'll have the rest of our forecast, plus a look into the weekend coming up in a bit. Back to you.
All right, Craig, we'll see you then. In the meantime, the FBI is searching for a bank robber on the run tonight. Coral Gables police say the suspect walked into a First Bank of Miami at 2317 Ponce de Leon Boulevard. He gave the teller a note claiming he had a gun and demanded cash. No weapon was ever seen. The suspect got away.
The South Florida window washer is killed after falling 6 stories. The unidentified man was getting ready to clean the windows at the First Union Bank building at 7200 Northwest 19th Street, but his rigging apparently gave way and he fell to his death. Because this is a work-related death, OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is being called in to investigate.
A wreck causing problems on the turnpike at Okeechobee Road earlier today. The Florida Highway Patrol says the driver of a double tractor trailer took a turn too quickly, causing his rig and one of the trailers to roll over. Luckily, nobody was hurt. The mess is now cleaned up.
Nearly a week after parts of South Florida are flooded out, the unscheduled vacation for thousands of children is over. All South Florida schools are reopened. Thousands of students headed back to classrooms today that were underwater last week. The rain forced more than 60,000 children to miss school. CBS 4's Lisa Cabrera has more on how or if they'll make up the time they missed.
The superintendent's office is issuing a letter to the State Department of Education requesting that the school year not be extended past the usual 180 days. Last week, more than a dozen schools missed 3 days of class. Question now is how to make up that lost time. Students at Ruben Dario Middle School are back to the books following severe flooding that shut their building down last week.
I think that I'm really pumped up after all that break that I had because of the storm.
It's kind of good going outside the house, being outside.
Miami-Dade County school administrators were forced to close at least 15 schools, cleaning up for days at the hardest hit area. That's District 8, including West Miami, Sweetwater, and Westchester. Some 66,000 students missing 3 days of class. Now that schools are open, the county superintendent is planning to allow school principals to put into action a plan making up the lost work.
Before school, after school, they will also entertain a possibility of a Saturday program to catch those students up.
He says a letter to the State Department of Education requests that the school year not be extended past 180 days. Instead, students will be expected to work just a bit harder.
We have to make up a lot of work, I think. Yeah, that's what's probably going to happen.
What can you do? What can you do? I think it was the best thing for them to stay home. I wouldn't have brought them here with the way the weather was.
I think it was really good for the kids.
Making up for the last time could start as early as this week. Each school's principal is required to come up with a game plan to help students catch up. In downtown Miami, Lisa Cabrera, CBS 4 News.
We are paying close attention tonight to developments in the Middle East crisis. New fighting has broken out in the Gaza Strip. Among the casualties, a 12-year-old Palestinian boy critically hurt by a bullet to the head. The UN Secretary General has also met with both Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat in hopes of ending the violence there. CBS 4's Doug Wilson reports.
Steve and Jennifer, there is renewed hope for peace in the Middle East. But even as the fragile work of diplomacy continues, so does the violence.
Pockets of violence erupted in the Gaza Strip and other disputed areas for the 13th day in a row. Israeli security forces clashed again with Palestinians in a deadly duel of rocks, tear gas, and bullets. In one of the most serious incidents, a 12-year-old Palestinian boy suffered a gunshot wound to the head and is listed in critical condition. On the diplomatic front, delicate negotiations between the Palestinian and Israeli leaders continue under the guidance of UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Annan blames both sides in the dispute for the violence, but praised a decision by the Israelis to extend the deadline for Palestinians to tone down their attacks or face the full force of the Israeli army.
I'm very grateful that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet yesterday decided not to stick to the deadline of 48 hours. I think it helps.
President Clinton is tackling the issue head-on with leaders of both sides of the conflict. His goal, a peace summit.
And ultimately to find a way that we can begin to get back to the table and resolve differences at the negotiating table and not in the streets.
So far, the White House has failed in its efforts to bring the sides together.
It's a touchy situation, but all sides agree on one thing. The level of violence must come down if peace is to win out over war. In Washington, Doug Wilson, CBS 4 News.
Stay with CBS 4 News for the latest on the crisis in the Middle East, including a complete report at 6:30 on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Space history is about to be made at the Kennedy Space Center. Find out why tonight's shuttle mission is so special. We'll have the countdown for you coming up.
Then at 5:30, police say a customer in a northwest Miami-Dade tire store comes in with more than tires on his mind. Tonight, he's a suspect in the robbery and shooting of the store owner.
But first, breaking developments following the shooting death of a 15-year-old boy outside a West Miami-Dade sub shop. Police have identified 2 suspects. We are live with the latest next.
You're watching CBS 4 News with Mackie Rodriguez, Steve Wolford, Jim Berry Sports, meteorologist Bob Soap, and storm specialist Brian Norcross.
New at 6, what is the kidney disorder Miami Heat star Alonzo Mourning is facing? Dr. Deanna Lights will take a closer look. And just how healthy are the school lunches your children are eating? We'll investigate all new at 6.
Do you think just because you made your bar mitzvah 20 years ago, that makes you Jewish?
Here, honey, try the Jewish Journal. It's good for you. The Jewish Journal. Pick it up around town.
Listen to your mother.
You're watching CBS 4 News, first at 5.
If looks could kill, police are trying to find out if that's the motive in the shooting death of a 15-year-old South Florida boy. Tonight, CBS 4 News has learned police have identified 2 of the suspects wanted for the murder of Richard Rodriguez.
The team was shot outside a Miami Subs grill. Now, police say the suspects did not like the way Rodriguez was looking at them, a look that prompted deadly gunfire. CBS 4's Gary Nelson is live at Miami-Dade Police Headquarters with more. Gary.
And that scenario is being reinforced by Miami-Dade identify two suspects that they are hunting for in this cold-blooded murder of a 15-year-old Coral Park High School student. The fellow on your right there, Carlos Antonio Gonzalez, 18 years old, and his brother Eduardo Gonzalez on the left, 22 years old. Carlos, the younger of the two, is believed to be the shooter in the incident Friday night that saw 15-year-old Ricky Rodriguez shot and killed in the parking lot of a fast food restaurant, apparently because he looked in an objectionable way at these two strangers, apparent strangers whom he had never met. A somber Coral Park High School on this the first day back to class since the weekend murder of a classmate. A boy, Ismari Patron, is known since 7th grade.
He was like really nice with everybody. I mean, he was a great kid, great guy.
She's talking about 15-year-old Ricky Rodriguez, a 10th grader, described by his principal as a good boy, a maturing student, not a troublemaker. But trouble found him Friday night, and when it was over, he lay beneath a yellow tarp, shot to death. He had gone to apply for a job at this Miami Subs, and after interviewing with the manager, stepped outside with a friend. The two were accosted by a group of half a dozen or so young Latin males. Angered, investigators say, by the way Ricky and his friend had looked at them. The young toughs who attacked Ricky Rodriguez had laid open his brow and split his lip. He was going to need some stitches. He and his friend were walking to their car here in the parking lot when they were set upon again. Ricky's friend ran for his life, escaping over this fence, but Ricky was caught from behind, shot once in the back of the head. Brushing tears from her cheeks, Yadira Chong today remembered her friend Ricky, who was not in a gang, she says, and died so needlessly.
For no reason, they just killed him without even knowing what he was like.
Without even knowing what he was like, she mourns they just killed him for no reason. And again, police tonight are looking for Carlos Gonzalez on the right there, 18, his brother Eduardo Gonzalez on your left in the first-degree murder of 15-year-old Ricky Rodriguez. And, of course, other suspects, there was a gang of guys at that Miami Subs that night, are also being sought. Police looking to identify them as well. We're live at Miami-Dade Police Headquarters. Gary Nelson, CBS 4 News.
NASA will try again tonight for a milestone space shuttle launch. Discovery is set to lift off from the Kennedy Space Center in a few hours, marking the 100th launch of the space shuttle. A supply mission to the International Space Station has been delayed twice. NASA says the weather for tonight's liftoff is about 50-50.
And Greg sits here now with the weather, and it was so windy at times, I was waiting for Dorothy and Toad.
It was pretty good last night. Lived along the water, crashing waves, too. Yeah, winds are going to stick around, it looks like, for at least another night, so get used to it. Let's show you what's going on outside right now. It's 78 degrees in Miami, 78 in Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood. 54% humidity. Hey, that's nice. Feels like it's only 79. Northeast wind at 15, gusting to 29. No rainfall here at CBS 4 Weather Control. Real-time radar is real quiet right now. No rain showing up there either in terms of clouds. We're looking at mainly mid-level clouds kind of blowing in on that northeasterly breeze. Into these little patches of clouds here as the cool air goes over the warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean and forms these little pockets of clouds. Sometimes this type of pattern will bring us showers. It looks like, though, there's enough drier air to keep this moisture from really turning into much shower activity overall. So maybe a stray shower here or there, but all in all should be mostly quiet. Here are temperatures right now, 60s over the northern portion of the state, 70s to the south, and once again tonight it will be cool, but mainly over northern and central Florida. 40s are the forecast lows over the northern portion of the state. 50s through the middle of the peninsula, 56 in Orlando, 60 in Tampa, but over South Florida once again, looks like the winds will stay up enough and stay enough off of the ocean to keep temperatures up, mainly in the low 70s for overnight lows. In terms of water vapor loop, a little bit of mid-level moisture, but otherwise not too much going on. Here's our forecast for tonight. The relative coolness continues, clouds blowing in from the ocean. Temperatures a little bit cooler inland, near 70 along the coast. Tomorrow we'll look for hide-and-seek sunshine, maybe a shower on the ocean breeze, a high temperature near 80 degrees. Look for a small craft to remain under the advisories for tomorrow. Northeast winds 20 to 25 knots, and taking us through the end of the week. Looks like a pretty good end to the week, but Sunday is a little iffy. More on that coming up at 5:30. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Craig. Pieces of Camelot are on the auction block. Coming up at 5:30, we'll show you some personal possessions of John and Jackie Kennedy up for bids.
Also at 5:30, ready, set, debate. It's time for round 2 of the presidential face-offs. We'll tell you how the candidates are prepping for the big event.
But first, all handbags are not created equal. CBS 4 entertainment reporter Jade Alexander will show you where to find the accessory that could make you the envy of all your friends.
And here's a look at the closing numbers on Wall Street. The Dow was down 44, NASDAQ down 115, and the S&P 500 down 16. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning is sponsored by General Motors, the company you count on wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion.
CBS 4 News this morning. New energy, new attitude with Lee Davalos.
There's a new energy in the morning show.
Phil Lipoff.
You want to wake up to someone who makes you smile, who you're comfortable with.
Jennifer Santiago Weather.
We try to really convey the information that people want to hear. We are getting breaking news first in the morning. Latest weather, what's it going to be like when I walk out the door, and traffic.
How we work with you at home.
A little boost of energy in the morning.
We're a team. That's what sets us apart.
All the news, traffic, and weather to jumpstart your day. CBS 4 News this morning starting at 5. You're watching CBS 4 News, first at 5.
I'm Elliot Rodriguez in the newsroom with some of the stories working on for CBS 4 News at 5:30. An attempted robbery leads to gunfire at a South Florida tire store, and tonight police say a customer may be to blame. A man is treated for a giant tumor growing out of his chin. Tonight, he's out at the hospital. We're going to show you how he looks now. And fallout at the top for Firestone. Consumer investigator Al Sunshine with the latest on deepening trouble for the tire company. Those stories and a whole lot more on CBS 4 News at 5:30 in just a few minutes.
Well, we stuff them, carry them, fling them around our wardrobe. It is the one accessory most ladies cannot live without. Of course, we're talking about purses. And these days, handbags are hotter than ever. In tonight's Jade's Escapades, CBS 4 entertainment reporter Jade Alexander shows us how designers are having fun with them. Jade.
Well, you know, there's backpacks and clutches, drawstrings. Purses come in all shapes and sizes, but you know what? They lack uniqueness, the right splash of color, until now. Women's purses are pretty standard. Sturdy, overstuffed, and efficient, but boring. How about you spice up your wardrobe with one of these babies? Handmade, colorful, one-of-a-kind handbags. The brainchild of designer Sandra Leal.
Sandra started making these bags as Christmas gifts. It was a hobby. And she gave them out to her friends and her family for whatever holiday. And someone suggested to her, why don't you do this for a living?
Heeding that good advice helped Sandra create a business that caters to women from housewives to the Hollywood elite.
She makes a lot of bags for celebrities, for award shows. She makes them for weddings.
Wow, what a great bridesmaid's gift. Imagine the look on your still living in the disco years sister-in-law's face when you give her this.
This is 70s.
This is a great...
This is groovy. This is my sha.
When you buy one of these handbags, you're actually buying two. They're completely reversible. You can go from a dressy evening flair to a casual velvet look, perfect for jeans. My favorite, the one that goes with classic evening attire.
Everybody has the basic black dress with the diamond jewelry. And this is a suede bag on one side, and the other side is a raw silk.
And Pizzazz Salon at Palm Bay is only one of 85 stores in the entire country that carry the beaded bags. That means that chances are yours is really unique. I know, Steve, you can't relate. It's a chick thing. I'm sorry. I got two for Christmas.
Thanks, Jade.
Thank you, Jade. Well, back to school means back to the lunchroom, but what's for lunch and how nutritious is it?
Find out what your children are being served in a special report at 6. CBS 4 News at 5. We'll be right back. That's CBS 4 News at 5. We'll see you again at 6. CBS 4 News continues now at 5:30 with Elliot Rodriguez and Alita Haytan.
Thank you, Steve. Coming up next on CBS 4 News at 5:30, the owner of a tire company gets a surprise when a customer returns with a gun and opens fire where they're live.
A person crossing the street in a wheelchair is struck by a car and rushed to the hospital.
A man who had a foot-long tumor on his face has a new look and a new life now. We'll have more on this remarkable recovery.
I'm meteorologist Craig Setzer in CBS 4 Weather Control. Kind of cool last night, but how long will the cool stuff stick around? We'll let you know.
And a top executive at Firestone calls it quits.
Some of Camelot goes up for sale as some of John F. Kennedy's belongings hit the auction block. Good evening, I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Alita Haytan. CBS 4 News at 5:30 is next.
Now, live. This is CBS 4 News at 5:30.
First at 5:30, gunshots ring out inside a tire shop when police say a customer opens fire. Police say the suspect was actually at the shop earlier having tires put on his car.
Yeah, but when he returned, he wasn't looking for service for the car. Police say he found the owner and robbed him on the job. CBS 4's Stacey Ciari is live in Northwest Miami-Dade with our top story at 5:30. Stacey.
Elliot, police are now on the lookout for this gunman, they say, for the second time today. He showed up at this tire shop here, this time trying to rob the owner. The owner fled, apparently southbound, just parallel to 27th Avenue here. He was shot several times. He is in critical condition. Now, witnesses describe this gunman as a dark-skinned man, clean-shaven, gold teeth, with a muscular build.
And I know he does have a little girl, and he keeps her all the time. He buys a lot of things for her. She's very happy, so it's very concerned.
A pair of jeans, some work boots still lay in the spot where the owner of this tire store on 170th Street, Northwest 27th Avenue, was shot 3 times as he tried to flee from a robber. Bloodstains still splatter a white Saab sitting in the shop. Police say the shooting happened just after noon, but investigators say the gunman had first showed up earlier in the morning to get a tire changed.
Apparently he came back around noon today in an attempt to rob the workers here of some cash.
During the robbery, police believe the gunman was focused on the shop owner. They say he pulled a gun on the owner. The owner took off running but was shot 3 times. That's when the suspect took off in his car. The owner was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital.
Apparently because of all the confusion surrounding the shooting, nothing was taken from the victim.
He's a very hard worker. When I say hard worker, Monday through Sunday. He works very late. He keeps late hours, but he's always here. If you need a tire, he's here. Where other businesses are closed, he's open and available.
Now police say the gunman was last seen leaving the area in a white Granada or LTD, older model, dark tinted windows. We're live in Northwest Miami-Dade. Stacey Ciari, CBS 4 News.
We have breaking news right now out of New York where a television reporter is being held hostage by a convicted murderer.
Let's join Jennifer Gould in the newsroom for more on this. Jen, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Elliot and Alita, this is a very strange one. A reporter from Court TV is being held while at a maximum security prison in northeast New York. The suspect, Kenneth Kimes, right now is serving a 125-year sentence for murdering a woman in New York City. Apparently, right now, he's holding the court TV reporter, Maria Zone, hostage. He's holding a pen to her neck. Now, so far, negotiators say she does not appear to be hurt, but they are the same trying to talk him into letting her go. Of course, when we get more information on this, we'll bring it to you. Live in the newsroom, Jennifer Gould, CBS 4 News.
A person in a wheelchair is hit by a truck and raced to the hospital. The victim was struck in Dania Beach near the intersection of Dania Beach Boulevard and Federal Highway this afternoon. Deputies are telling us that the victim died later at the hospital. Police are speaking with the driver of the truck and investigating what may have caused the accident.
A family in Davie is searching for clues in the disappearance of this man, 76-year-old Rafael Jimenez. He left his home yesterday evening in a silver Toyota Camry. His family says he has Alzheimer's disease. They're hoping he's not the victim of foul play. They say that Jimenez was a happy man and had no reason to leave.
The family of Barry Gruneau, the popular Lake Worth teacher killed on the last day of school, is getting help from the state today. The state awarded Gruneau's 2 kids full college scholarships to attend any college in Florida. Police say Gruneau was gunned down by Nathaniel Brazil. The 13-year-old will be tried as an adult. If convicted, Brazil faces life in prison.
A remarkable recovery gives a Haitian man a whole new look on life today. We first told you about Dievius Moranci a few weeks ago. Well, today he was released from the hospital after having a tumor removed from his chin. Doctors operated on the enlarged tumor and say the man will have to relearn how to talk. CBS 4's Eliana Varela has more. Eliana?
Elliot, today, Dievius Moranci left the hospital, but not before thanking God, his doctors, and everyone else who helped in his remarkable recovery.
Dievius Moranci walks out of Jackson Memorial Hospital a changed man, literally. Gone is the football-sized tumor which had invaded his face, making it difficult for him to eat and speak.
He's a new man in every sense of the word. He looks a lot better. He's probably cured from his disease, and all of the other diseases that he presented with have been reversed as well.
This is Moranci before the surgery. The 36-year-old Haitian man suffered from ameloblastoma, a common jaw tumor, but uncommonly large in his case. The condition arises when cells supposed to build teeth build tumors instead. The tumor was benign, but in time, doctors feared it would obstruct Morency's airways, killing him. Today, in the few English words he knows, the patient thanked his doctor for saving his life.
Thank you, mister.
You could call Morency the accidental patient. He was actually supposed to have the surgery in Atlanta, but a mix-up at the airport brought him to Miami and JMH. 2 months later, he is going home a new man with a new hat and a new mission.
He said he's going to praise the Lord, and he will go and preach the gospel.
Now, to give you an idea how the tumor affected his eating, Morency arrived weighing 109 pounds. He leaves at 144. That's a 35-pound gain in just 2 months. And by the way, he will be back in February for a checkup. Ileana Varela, CBS 4 News.
Amazing difference. Thank you, Ileana. Well, we're expecting another cool night tonight in South Florida, but just how cool will it get, and how long will this break from the heat last? CBS 4 meteorologist Craig Setzer, it's in weather control with some answers for us. Craig?
Yeah, well, not terribly cool last night. Temperatures mostly in the low 70s here through South Florida. And it looks like another relatively cool night tonight if you call low 70s cool. The reason it didn't get that cool last night, we had northerly winds, and basically those northerly winds and the clouds kind of cutting Florida in half, with the southern part of the state, especially right over here, staying in the 70s thanks to the wind coming off the water. Although where it was a little more over land and the air had to travel for longer distances over land, cooled off quite a bit. Jacksonville 45, Orlando 53, these all records. Tampa 52, and Tallahassee, one of the coolest spots. Looks like temperatures will be fairly close to these readings again tonight, and then a very slow warm-up. More on that coming up in a bit. Back to you.
All right, we'll see you in a little bit. The presidential election is less than a month away, and the candidates are racing to the finish. Gore and Bush are now heading to North Carolina, where they'll meet for round 2 in their series of debates. CBS 4's Jennifer Jones has a preview.
With one debate down, and on the eve of a second, the presidential candidates are hot on the campaign trail. Vice President Al Gore in Florida trying to win over an audience with his college aid proposals.
I think that we should take some bold steps to make education more affordable and to make college tuition accessible to all middle-class families.
Meanwhile, his rival, George W. Bush, arrived in Gore's home state of Tennessee. The Texas governor working to widen the margin in a state where polls suggest the race is too close to call.
28 days from today, the great people of this country are going to change government. We have a new leader, a new attitude.
While most polls put the candidates neck and neck, a recent Gallup poll has Bush 8 points ahead of Gore, 50% to 42%, with an error margin of 4 percentage points, enough to get the Gore camp reaching for more ammunition. The Democratic National Committee has announced an intensified campaign of television commercials attacking Bush's record as a Texas governor.
The Bush camp calls this latest assault a violation of the candidate's pledge to refrain from personal attacks. And while Gore's camp says it is all fair game, the subject is soon to come up Wednesday when the two square off in their second debate here in North Carolina. Jennifer Jones, CBS News.
Okay, we wanted to know the issues you felt the candidates should talk about in tomorrow night's debate, so we asked you to sound off, and you did.
Honesty, a straight face, good answers to our questions.
Better statistics. I think they're giving the answers that the public wants to hear, but in actuality there's no meat in what they're saying.
More about education, more about what they're really going to do, not during the campaign, actually when they're going to do when they get there.
That they speak the truth, what they're going to do, and just say it, so we don't get disillusioned.
We thank you for sounding off, and here's an important reminder. If you want your voice to be heard this November, you need to make sure you're registered to vote, and today is the last day to register for the upcoming November election, and time is quickly running out, but there's still time. Now, you can register at most public libraries until 6 o'clock tonight, or at any election office until 10 p.m.
Are you registered?
Absolutely, you better believe it.
And I am. I was just registered about half an hour ago from our news director. Thank you so much. Well, items from John F. Kennedy Kennedy's summer retreat are about to hit the auction block. We'll take you to New York for a preview.
A top Firestone executive resigns in the midst of a giant tire recall. The latest coming up.
Also ahead, find out why your cell phone may have some people talking about your personality.
Plus, our cold snap is nothing compared to the folks on the West Coast. We'll have details coming up. CBS 4 News at 5:30. We'll be right back. Stay right there.
Hi, I'm CBS 4's Ileana Borella. If you would like to make a difference in someone's life, but you don't know quite how, well, the answer may be right in your own home. There are many nonprofit agencies serving people who need everything from personal and household items to computers and furniture. If you can help, please call Neighbors for Neighbors at 305-597-4404. CBS 4's Neighbors for Neighbors and you. Together, we can meet the needs of our community.
Take a look at this. Believe it or not, you can own a piece of Camelot. That is, of course, if you can afford it. Christie's Auction House is offering items owned by John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, they come from the Hammersmith farm where he and Jackie O were married. Now part of Camelot is up for sale, and you can expect the bidding will be high. CBS 4's Kathy Moss has more.
1,200 guests celebrated the marriage of Jacqueline Bouvier to John Kennedy at Hammersmith Farm, the Newport, Rhode Island estate overlooking the Narragansett Bay. Now, almost 5 decades later, the heirs of Hugh D. Auchincloss, Jackie's stepfather, have sold the 28-room cottage and hired Christie's to auction off some of its contents.
They have some value, but it's only monetary value. It's not sentimental value.
Which is surprising considering what's for sale. Jackie's simple white bedroom furniture, the black bedroom set in which John Kennedy Jr. slept, a desk where President Kennedy signed bills into law while vacationing, an 18th century clock which stood on the landing of the staircase next to Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy on her wedding day as she prepared to toss her bouquet.
Christie's set the estimated sale prices based on what comparable pieces sold for at previous auctions. But what's harder to quantify is the actual value from that Kennedy name.
Try and keep yourself from being swept up in the moment?
You try, but it's not easy.
It was a little bit exciting, and there were a lot of people on the phone bidding and topping.
In the end, it was a mixed bag. The clock, which was estimated at $8,000 to $12,000, sold for $25,000. The desk, used by President Kennedy, sold for $9,000, right within the Christie's estimate. The 87 lots brought over $230,000 as buyers grabbed up pieces of Camelot. In New York, Kathy Moss, CBS 4 News.
Wow, $25,000 clock, that's a lot.
Those aren't bad prices considering some of the other ones that we've seen.
Well, how much do we bid for our weather? Not too bad.
I don't know, not too bad. A little on the windy side, so we might have to discount it just a little bit. In the it could always be colder department, here's some video from the Sierra Nevada over in portions of California. Oh yeah, folks having to put the chains on. That's up there in the Sierra Nevada, Lake Tahoe region. Remember, winter is a place southern Floridians go to visit on an airplane. All right, let's show you what's going on real-time radar right now. Pretty quiet, no precipitation out there, just some northeast winds continuing. In terms of cloud cover, we're seeing just a little bit of cloud cover blowing in on those northeast breezes. Not too much to speak of. Patchy hit and miss clouds. Looks like the clouds will thicken up a little bit for tomorrow and start to thin out as we head towards Thursday and Friday. And it looks like right now for Saturday also. Lows tonight once again will be cool, especially central and northern portions of the state. 40s and 50s and 60s there. Down in South Florida, once again, the northeast breezes will keep us a little bit warmer. Not as cloudy, but temperatures staying up thanks to the wind, pulling the warm water temperatures over our way, so readings will be in the low 70s. In terms of moisture, overall moisture, the thicker or the higher levels of moisture just to our south right now, holding on drier air, central and northern portions of the state. Next couple of days, the moisture creeps back in just a little bit for Wednesday, and then by Thursday and Friday, it looks like drier air will come in. As computer models are trying to develop a low-pressure system near the Bahamas, we'd be on the west side, so we'd see the northerly winds if that pans out. But the only fly in this ointment is that this low could potentially drift west and could be here by about Sunday. So right now, Sunday's kind of up in the air in the whole forecast scheme of things. Across the country, here's that system in the west dropping the snow in the high mountains. Midsection of the country quiet, and a little bit of cool weather, some rain and snow mix. Portions of upstate New York, New England, northern Maine. In the tropics, we're watching a couple of systems, one in the central Atlantic, another one in the southwest Caribbean, but No signs of development from either of those systems right now. We'll keep watching them. Our forecast for tonight looks like this. Coolness continues. Otherwise, clouds blowing in from the ocean. Temperatures upper 60s inland, low 70s along the coast for tomorrow. Hide and seek sunshine and maybe a shower on the ocean breeze. A high temperature near 80 degrees. Pollen count. Mold is high and taking us through the end of the week, into the weekend. Stray showers possible on Thursday. Otherwise, mostly sunny Thursday and Friday. Sunday right now is the only iffy day of the weekend. Could be a little bit on the rainy side. Back to you.
Thank you, Craig. More trouble tonight for Firestone. Up next at 5:30, consumer investigator Al Sunshine will join us to tell us why their top executive stepped down today.
Is the cell phone you're using making a statement about your personality? You won't want to miss what the experts are saying.
A group of doctors is busted after police say they were operating without a license. Coming up at 6, we'll show you what police found inside their office.
You're watching CBS 4 News at 5:30.
I'm Steve Wolford in the CBS 4 Newsroom with a look at some of the stories coming up on CBS 4 News at 6. We're learning some new information tonight about the condition of Miami Heat star Alonzo Mourning. Zoe is suffering from a rare kidney disorder, and doctors say they cannot rule out the possibility of a transplant. CBS 4 Sports Director Jim Berry talked with Zoe this morning. We'll have a live report. Also, a fire at a popular Key Largo restaurant will show you what happened. And do your children complain about school lunches? Dr. Deanna Lights tells you if you should listen to them. Those stories along with the rest of today's news, weather, and sports coming up on CBS 4 News at 6.
Thank you, Steve. Big changes for Firestone today. Its embattled boss of U.S. operations retired.
This all happening in the wake of the recall of those alleged treacherous tires. CBS 4 consumer investigator Al Sunshine says Firestone's new boss is pointing his finger at the Ford Explorer. Al joins us now to explain.
Alina, Firestone's got a new U.S. boss today who still insists that those 6.5 million tires allegedly linked to more than 100 deaths are not defective. And Firestone continues to insist the problem of Ford SUV rollovers is not just a tire problem alone.
I want my first act as the new CEO of Bridgestone Firestone to be an apology for those who have suffered personal losses or have had problems with our products.
John Lampy, former mechanic, the new head of U.S. operations for the embattled tire maker. He was upbeat about being able to complete his company's $450 million voluntary tire recall by the end of November. But he still does not think his recalled tires are defective. And he came out swinging today, raising questions about why so many Ford Explorers suffered rollovers that were not even blamed on the tires.
Sure I'm tired of hearing that the whole blame rests upon the tire. I think anybody that's looked at the statistics understands that only a very small percentage of Ford Explorer accidents and rollovers have been attributed to a tire.
Auto safety researchers have been poring over Ford SUV accident reports, trying to learn why so many have rolled over. Uncle Sam even opened another formal investigation several weeks ago into front suspension failures hitting some older Explorers. And Ford's redesigned the new Explorer, reportedly to improve its ride and handling, even lowering it some. But some critics say that was done to better keep them on the road. And it may be a while, if ever, before engineers really know if all these accidents were caused by defective tires or a defective SUV. And Firestone's new boss insists that the company's name will survive.
Yes, this is a setback, but we will come back and we'll be stronger than we ever were before.
Now, in spite of all the outcry for new federal safety laws to make sure these kind of problems never happen again, those proposed auto safety regulations are stalled in the U.S. Senate. Why? Reportedly extensive lobbying from the auto industry. And tonight's season premiere of 60 Minutes 2 focuses on a special Dan Rather report into Firestone, allegedly keeping reports of tire separations covered up from the public for almost 10 years. So make sure you tune in tonight at 9 o'clock at the story I'm going to be watching.
A lot of finger-pointing going on in this.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Al.
A brazen robber makes a bold heist today in the middle of Coral Gables.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, find out how police say he got away. We'll be right back.
New at 6, what is the kidney disorder Miami Heat star Alonzo Mourning is facing? Dr. Deanna Lights will take a closer look. And just how healthy are the school lunches your children are eating? We'll investigate all new at 6.
Finally at 5:30, does your cell phone say something about you?
Well, according to the experts, your cell phone may give others a glimpse of your personality. Whether you're styled as wild or all business, there's a phone for you. Younger users apparently crave colorful phones, and if you're all business, you're more likely than not sport a conservative cell phone. With so many styles to choose from, we're told the best advice is simply to consider options and functions over which color is your personal favorite. I have basic black. How about you?
I have a black one, too. Mine wasn't on there, so maybe that's good news.
That is good news. That does it for CBS 4 News at 5:30.
Now join Jennifer Gould and Steve Wolford for CBS 4 News at 6.
Thank you very much, you two. And now on CBS 4 News at 6 o'clock, we are learning why a star Heat player is off the court. Alonzo Mourning now teaming up with doctors planning his next move against a rare kidney disorder. The story in a live report.
We're getting our first look at 2 teenagers wanted in connection with the murder outside a fast food restaurant. We're live with late-breaking developments.
Then a look inside a South Florida doctor's office where police say fake doctors performed illegal procedures.
Prosecutors say she tried to smother her baby to death. Now a Florida judge makes a surprise decision in the case. We're live at the Broward County Courthouse.
Thousands of students head to the school cafeteria every day, but is what they're eating really healthy? Dr. Deanna Lights is investigating. Good evening, I'm Jennifer Gould. Maggie Rodriguez is on special assignment.
I'm Steve Wolford. CBS 4 News at 6, right here, right now.
Now, live. This is CBS 4 News at 6.
First at 4, we're learning more about why an NBA star is off the court. Instead of training with teammates, Miami Heat center Alonzo Mourning is meeting with doctors, planning his next move against a kidney ailment that has Mourning sidelined. The disorder is so debilitating, doctors say they cannot rule out the possibility of a transplant.
Doctors are trying to decide the best way to treat the kidney disorder that has Mourning sidelined. The story you saw first on 4. We have live team coverage with health specialist Dr. Deanna Lights. We begin, though, with CBS 4 Sports Director Jim Barry. He's joining us live from the American Airlines Arena. Jim.
Okay, Steve and Jennifer. Well, here's the situation about Heat center Alonzo Mourning. Alonzo has a very rare kidney disorder, so rare, in fact, that it afflicts only 1 in 10,000 people. That's the bad news. The good news is that Mourning tonight has a very optimistic outlook, and sources told me he still hopes to resume playing this season. Alonzo Mourning, the anchor of the Heat team poised to make a run at the NBA Finals, has an affliction called focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. The illness apparently cropped up within the past year and turned up during a routine physical. In the short term, sources say Mourning hopes to treat his ailment with medication and resume playing this season. But over the long haul, Mourning may need a kidney transplant.
He came by this morning and visited with us, and I had a nice conversation with him in my office.
The Heat is still keeping mum about Mourning, who is weighing his treatment options. However, Mourning's condition, according to sources, may not be as serious as San Antonio's Sean Elliott, who resumed his NBA career after receiving a kidney from his brother. Alonzo Mourning had a storybook summer. He won Olympic gold in Sydney and returned home during the games just in time for the birth of his daughter.
It's been exciting, man, thus far. I'm just pleased to have the opportunity to get back home.
Off the court, Mourning has also become a huge presence with his Summer Groove charity. His absence would be a huge loss for the Heat, but teammates are hopeful about his quick return.
We know that he's on the mend, everything is going well. You know, whatever the problem is, they get getting the cure for it, and hopefully he'll be out soon.
Now, Heat head coach Pat Riley today stressed that by no means is Alonzo Mourning down about his condition. He came by, visited with his teammates, and they were all very excited and happy to see him. In the next few days, Mourning is expected to address the media. By then, he should have all the answers to questions that right now he himself is seeking. Live from the American Airlines Arena, I'm Jim Barry, CBS 4 Sports.
And from Jim, our team coverage continues now with Dr. Deanna Lights.
She's joining us with more on the kidney disorder that Zoe is facing tonight. Doctor?
Well, Steve, it's a big name. It's called focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. Basically what it means is scarring in the kidneys, and it can lead to kidney dialysis or a kidney transplant.
It takes a lot to sideline Miami Heat star Alonzo Mourning, but a kidney disorder appears to be doing just that. Zoe is suffering from a kidney problem called focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. a big name for scarring in parts of the kidney that filtrate the blood.
You form scars in that area, then the kidney cannot filtrate the toxins, and the toxins build up, and the patient then becomes ill.
Dr. Raul de Velasco says patients may have the disease for a long time and not even know it.
The main symptom that the patient has is swelling in the legs. They may notice that when they urinate, they have foam in the urine, and the blood pressure starts going up. But many times they feel perfectly normal, and it becomes a big surprise.
No one is sure of the exact cause of the disease, but it may be associated with a virus.
It's probably a substance that circulates in the blood that, as it filters through the kidney, it affects and scars that area of the kidney that filtrates the blood. And eventually the whole kidney scars down and stops working.
The treatment is usually medication to help improve the kidney's function, but the overall prognosis varies from patient to patient.
The prognosis is difficult to tell yet without having more information, but some patients prognose, no matter what treatment you give them, to renal failure requiring dialysis and transplantation.
And besides medication, doctors will probably be watching morning's blood pressure and blood cholesterol levels to make sure and keep them under control, because that can also lead to scarring. Dr. Deanna Lights, CBS 4 News. And keep it here on CBS 4 for continuing coverage. As soon as we learn more about the kidney ailment that has sidelined Alonzo Morning, we'll bring it right to you.
It's been a week since parts of South Florida were flooded out, but tonight all schools are finally back in business. Today, students said they enjoyed the unofficial vacation because of the storm, but they are glad to be back in class.
I think that I'm really pumped up after all that break that I had because of the storm. It's kind of good going outside the house, being outside.
School officials are now deciding if more than 60,000 students will have to make up the 3 days of school that they missed. Well, tonight, South Florida is feeling the effects of a cold front. Morning temperatures were their lowest so far this season, and today's weather had people fighting off the wind. CBS 4 meteorologist Craig Setzer is joining us live in Weather Control with a look at what we can expect later tonight and tomorrow morning. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Steve. Well, it looks like the winds are going to stick around. Temperatures are going to drop once again, and it's not that cold. It's just cooler than we have seen pretty much all summer long. Here's what's going on. The reason we warmed up so nicely today, the winds have become a little more northeasterly, and the winds are carrying that heat or the warmth off the warm Atlantic Ocean. Temperatures right now in the low to mid-80s. Overnight tonight, these winds are forecast to die down, lighten up a little bit, and then we'll see a little bit of a northerly wind develop right down the peninsula. So inland areas will be, for the most part, cooler, but areas right along the coast will stay the warmest. So right inland, we'll see our coolest readings mainly in the 60s and 70s once again along the coast. We'll have the complete forecast coming up. It's a pretty good-looking one. A little bit later, back to you.
All right, thanks, Craig. We're following a breaking story right now. Police are looking for 2 suspects wanted in the murder of a teenager. Detectives say the suspects may have killed the boy because of the way he looked at them. CBS 4's Gary Nelson is live at Miami-Dade Police Headquarters in West Miami-Dade with the latest on that. Gary?
Well, Steve, police tonight have identified but have not yet apprehended 2 suspects wanted in connection with this cold-blooded murder. 18-year-old Carlos Antonio Gonzalez and his brother, 22-year-old Eduardo, are being hunted tonight for first-degree murder. The younger brother was the triggerman, cops say, in the Friday night shooting of 15-year-old Coral Park High student Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez killed, investigators say, over a dirty look. He was applying for a job at this Miami Subs. When he stepped outside, he and a friend were accosted by a group of young Latin males. Angry, police say, at the way Ricky had looked at them. Ricky's friend ran for his life, escaped over a fence, but Ricky was chased down and shot through the head. Cops tonight are searching for these 2 suspects and expect to name more. And investigators tell me tonight they have no reason to believe that Ricky Rodriguez knew his killers, that this was the murder of a stranger over a dirty look. We're live at Miami-Dade Police Headquarters. Gary Nelson, CBS 4 News.
A group of phony doctors is coming under fire tonight after getting busted by Miami police. Police captured these shocking scenes on camera where 5 unlicensed doctors were performing cosmetic surgery on patients who thought their doctors were licensed. 2 officers were busted during a recent raid where officers found bags of human flesh stored in the freezer right next to food. Tonight, investigators tell us this is not the first time the 5 suspects have been arrested for performing unlicensed surgery.
The laws on the books weren't nearly as strict as they are now. We didn't have a mandatory minimum year-in-jail sentence for those unlicensed practitioners in any of the healthcare professions. We have that now.
All the suspects are in police custody. Now to a story you'll see only on 4, a bold bank robbery today in Coral Gables. A teller at the First Bank of Miami says a man in his 30s gave her a note that said he was armed. After he got the cash, he casually walked out of the bank. The FBI is now investigating.
We have some breaking news right now, an accident on I-95. Let's go to CBS 4's Elliot Rodriguez in the newsroom with more. Elliot?
Yeah, Steve and Jennifer, this is a live picture from Chopper 4 right now. They are working on one patient, somebody inside that red car, but we are told this is an accident involving 3 vehicles on the northbound side of I-95 approaching Oakland Park Boulevard in Broward County. Right now, 2 lanes of traffic have been shut down. As you can see, the paramedics are on the scene. They have just brought somebody out of that red car, and I assume will be put into an ambulance. It also looks like they may have the jaws of life out there, but they continue working right there on Oakland Park Boulevard. 3-car accident, at least 1 person injured, possibly more. In the newsroom, Elliot Rodriguez, CBS 4 News.
A South Florida woman accused of smothering her 2-year-old child takes the stand today as her abuse trial makes a dramatic turn. CBS 4's Jack Hamrick is live outside the Broward County Courthouse with more on that story. Jack.
Steve, this trial is not going very well for the state. Just a short time ago, the judge knocked down the charges against Kim McNeil from aggravated child abuse to simple child abuse, which carries a much less severe penalty if convicted. The judge said the state simply does not have the evidence. Coral Springs mother Kim McNeil on trial accused of trying to smother her 2-year-old child. The state contends that McNeil cut off the child's oxygen while the child was in the intensive care unit at Broward General back in 1997. Prosecutors were seeking an aggravated child abuse conviction, but the judge said there simply was not enough evidence, and he knocked the charge down to simple child abuse.
This is where I was sitting, about right here, and the TV was right here. And the monitors are like back over here, and the connectors that go into the wall for like the oxygen and stuff are like back where it says monitor written there.
Doctors contend that McNeil not only disconnected the child's oxygen, but also moved the monitoring cameras so that they would not be seen by medical staff. At the time, Dr. Jorge Del Toro thought the child had been abused, but on the stand today, he refused to say that what had happened was actually child abuse. And Mother Kim McNeil is still on the stand, and we understand that she will be the last witness called, so the jury should get this case tomorrow. We're live in Fort Lauderdale. Jack Hamrick, CBS 4 News.
An update now on a breaking story. We've been following a small child hit by a car this afternoon. It now turns out the accident was not nearly as serious as we first thought. In fact, police now tell us the 1-year-old boy was barely hit by the car while playing in his driveway in Cutler Ridge. Rescue crews took him to Children's Hospital just as a safety precaution. He is expected to make a full recovery.
Chopper 4 over a restaurant fire today in Key Largo. The blaze at Harry's Grill at mile marker 98 forced everyone out of the building. Fire crews spent nearly a half hour battling the blaze before it was finally brought under control. Investigators believe the fire started in the kitchen.
It's one of the biggest questions in hundreds of schools around South Florida. What's for lunch?
And tonight we have an exclusive inside look at what your children are being served in the lunchroom. But is it really good for them? Dr. Deanna Lights is up next with the results of her special investigation.
Also, scientists are now calling it the closest thing to a cure for the cold. Find out all about it in Health News.
Coming up next at 6:30 on the CBS Evening News, the latest on the crisis in the Middle East and what happens now that the Israeli deadline has been extended. CBS 4 News at 6. We'll be right back. Back to school means back to the cafeteria for students, but what's for lunch, and for that matter, how nutritious is it? School lunches tend to get a bad rap. The food is often tasteless, and there aren't many choices.
And since this week is National School Lunch Week, we sent CBS 4 health specialist Dr. Deanna Lights back to school to see what's for lunch. Doctor?
Well, Jennifer, a lot has changed since I ate lunch at school. And if it's been a while since you spent time in a school cafeteria, I think you'll be surprised.
It's lunchtime at Bentry Elementary School in Miami. But this isn't your father's lunchroom, where there was one thing to eat and the food didn't taste good. Today, students like 8-year-old Ariel Gutierrez have plenty of tasty cuisine to choose from.
It's very good, it's healthy for you, and it makes you big and strong.
today, students can have a fish sandwich, potatoes, milk, and fruit. Don't feel like a sandwich? Have some yogurt instead. Feeding students in Miami-Dade schools is a top priority. Registered dietitian Carol Chong says studies show children who eat well do better in school.
Children who eat healthy have higher cognitive skills and also better behavior.
That's why a great deal of effort is put into planning school lunches.
All the school meals are planned according to the U.S. dietary guidelines, so all our menus are low in fat, are high in fiber.
But eating well isn't only in the cafeteria. It carries over to the classroom, where students are taught about nutrition.
Nutrition is part of the curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade.
It's important to eat good food so you don't get tired and weak.
Experts hope teaching kids about nutrition will help them make smart food choices as adults. When the bell rings at Braddock High School in Miami, these students have as many food choices as most restaurants. While there are burgers and burritos, there are also plenty of vegetables on hand. Yogurt, and a large salad bar offering everything from tuna and tomatoes to olives and nuts.
I like to also watch what I eat, so a lot of times I go to the salad bar. So I don't have to build up my fat or carbohydrates.
Students can also buy some of their fast food favorites like Subway sandwiches and Domino's pizza. And individual districts try to incorporate the students' ethnicity into their menu planning.
So each school can, for example, take that hamburger, and depending if it's in a Latin neighborhood, they could change it to picadillo.
In fact, the experts say the lunch at school is usually healthier than the lunch brought from home. Dietitians work hard to make the grade when it comes to planning your child's school lunch.
And school lunches cost $1.50. The school works with families who can't afford that. And if you want to try out the cafeteria cuisine, it'll cost you $2. Dr. Deanna Lights, CBS 4 News.
Thanks, Doctor. Well, the best remedy for the common cold could be as close as your local drugstore.
We'll show you a new study coming up next.
Closed captioning is sponsored by General Motors, the company you count on wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion.
Craig Sensor joins us now with weather, and we better probably take advantage of this because I got a feeling maybe in a week or two it'll be back.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
The humidity's been pushed like a couple hundred miles away.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't take much to yank it back up here, maybe by the late weekend. Let's show you what's going on right now. 77 in Miami, 76 in Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood. The humidity low now. Look at that, 54%. Only feels like 79. Northeast wind at 10, gusting to 29. No rainfall here at CBS 4. In terms of precipitation, none to speak of on real-time radar. Very quiet across the area right now. Clouds, we've had low and mid-level clouds across South Florida, mainly high clouds across North Florida, and these low clouds blowing in on that northeast breeze. So we'll see some clouds from time to time, especially tomorrow, and then we should dry out a little bit again, back to mostly sunny skies. Across the country, you can see the big trough over the eastern portion of the country. This area right through here is where the cold front is presently located, and the southern portion of it stalled out now. We're getting the winds from the high pressure over the midsection of the country, but this front, which is stalling out, is probably going to become a focus area for showers and thunderstorms over the next couple of days, and by the weekend it could drift back westward, and by late in the weekend we could see our next big chance for rainfall. Until then, though, chance for showers tomorrow, otherwise things looking pretty good. In the northeast, a pretty cold day once again, well, cool. Temperatures mainly in the 30s and 40s and some 50s there with kind of a rainy, cloudy day. In the southeast, just some clouds streaming by. Temperatures also cool, mainly in the 60s. And in the west, some snow in the higher elevations of the western mountains. Otherwise, temperatures not too bad, mainly in the 70s. Our forecast looks like this for tonight. Coolness continues. Clouds blowing in on the ocean breeze. Temperatures mainly upper 60s to low 70s for tomorrow. Hide and seek sunshine, a little more cloudiness than today. A high near 80 and a shower or two possible. Boating interest northeast winds 20 to 25 knots. And taking us through the rest of the week, fairly dry, mostly sunny Thursday, Friday, and probably Saturday. Sunday is the day that could be kind of rainy. Back to you.
All right, Craig, thank you. Well, tonight, an over-the-counter cold medication is standing out above the rest.
A new study shows Zicam Cold Remedy reduced the duration of a common cold by a surprising 75%. Researchers at Harvard Medical School say the difference between Zicam and other cold remedies is that it's applied directly to the nasal cavity, which is the primary source of the infection.
And coming up in sports, more on the kidney disorder that has sidelined Heat Center Alonzo Mourning.
CBS 4 Sports Director Jim Berry will have the latest live from the American Airlines Arena coming up. Stay with us.
Good evening. Some more profit taken on Wall Street today as the Dow Jones Industrial Average closes down 44 points, 10,524. The Nasdaq Composite down 114, 3,241. And the Standard & Poor's 500 down 16, 1,386. This is Mitch Hirsch of the Hirsch Arnold team, Asper's Union Securities.
Jim Berry live at American Airlines Arena now. And Jim, obviously, Zoe has done so much for the community. Now the community banding together, praying for their star center.
No question about that, Jennifer. In fact, I was thinking about this on the way down here with Dan Marino's retirement. Alonzo Mourning is certainly probably the most recognized athlete in all of South Florida. Tonight, he is perhaps its most hopeful. Mourning, sources say, has a very rare kidney disorder afflicting about 1 in 10,000 people. That's the bad news. The good news is that Zoe hopes that a transplant will not be an immediate probability, but that with medication he can resume playing sometime this season. The Heat is trying to press on without Alonzo, as difficult as that might be. They worked out today at the AAA before heading to New Jersey for their preseason opener. They got a big lift when Zoe dropped in on practice this morning. His mood was decidedly upbeat, and his tone optimistic.
He came by this morning and visited with us, and I had a nice conversation with him in my office. He was here for an hour and a half in practice. He stretched with the guys, and this is upbeat.
He's all right. I mean, he's in good spirits. Zoe's a guy who's always been a positive guy and a guy who's very upbeat, so, really good to me.
Now, Alonzo Mourning has said nothing at all about his condition. He hopes to break his silence within a few days. Right now, he is still gathering a lot of medical advice, and he hopes that advice will give him the green light to resume his basketball wars in the NBA. Right now, it is still too soon to tell, but as you heard from Dan Marley and also from Heat head coach Pat Riley, the tone, the sense is that Zoe is going to try to play this year. But again, he should speak either by the end of this week or early part of next week. That's the story here from the AAA. Let's go back now to Julian Gonzalez back at the CBS 4 studios with the rest of today's sports. Julian?
Thanks, Jim. College basketball season tips off in just over a month, and the Miami Hurricanes can't wait for it to get started. The Canes held their media luncheon today. Head coach Perry Clark excited about his first season at UM. The Canes looking to build on last season's Sweet 16 appearance, but for now, they're just trying to get used to being the big men on campus.
People are a lot more interested in the basketball program. Like before, they didn't even ask us about how the team was going, but now people asking a lot of questions, asking about Darius, asking about how the team is going to be. So it's neat. We can tell there's a lot more interest.
People sort of figure out there is a basketball team, not just a football team on the UM campus. That's great for them.
Thanks, Julian.
Thank you.
Some South Florida students are busy sticking ribbons on shopping bags. We'll explain why next.
You're watching CBS 4 News at 6.
Finally at 6, some South Florida school children are celebrating Red Ribbon Week.
Students from St. Francis Xavier Catholic School are decorating grocery bags with the message, "Say no to drugs." The one-of-a-kind bags will be given out Friday at the Publix on Biscayne Boulevard.
That's our news for now. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you back here at 11 o'clock for CBS 4 News tonight. Now let's go to the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather in New York.